My favorite drill is one that is the manifestation of trust. Let's say your partner takes a swing and you say, "What was that?" And all you're asking for is a number. And it's a number between 1 and 10. How much trust did I have in that swing? And 10 is the best, but anything 7 and above, you can shoot par if you putt well. I never say to my partner, "Wow, that's a good shot. How'd that one feel?" I ask him one thing: "What was that?" He'll say, "Oh, that was a 5." And I don't ever say, "Oh, what was that one, a 5?" No, the whole part of it is that he must answer. Then I hit balls. And what we say when we're in tournaments and stuff, and he's sitting there with the ball and I can tell he's uncomfortable, and I'll just say, "Hey man, swing for a 10.
Hi, this is Brian Wise from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and I play at Makefield Highlands Golf Club. This is Golf Smarter number 902.
My pathway to finding joy in golf again, with writer of Winning the Battle Within, Michael Bowker.
This is Golf Smarter, sharing stories, tips, and insights from great golf minds to help you lower your score and raise your golf IQ. Here's your host, Fred Green.
Welcome to the Golf Smarter podcast, Michael.
Thank you, Fred. This is going to be fun.
I'm really looking forward to this conversation because you're going to bring in so many different elements of playing the game, of the mental game, of writing about the game, and just stories. I just want to hear stories. I love hearing stories. But the reason we're talking today, strangely enough, I got an email from a listener who said, "I've been listening to your episodes that you did, bringing back Dr. Glenn Albaugh, who passed away. And I've been listening to him, and I realized that his first book that he wrote was with my playing partner, Michael Bowker." And I'm like, I can't believe it. It's like he had no idea that was you. And then, of course, he bought the book. And it's amazing that we get a chance to talk to you, especially after we lost Dr. Albaugh this year.
Yeah. I had a wonderful time doing this book with Glenn. It was my idea in the first place. I went to him.
Really?
And yes, I was living in Sacramento at the time, and Scotty McCarron was around there, and I played in a lot of tournaments in those days, and I was also working as a journalist covering a lot of golf. And I heard about Glenn from Scotty and thought, well, there's something there. There's a cool book there. And he and I talked, he being Dr. Albaugh, and I sat down and talked. And our ideas about golf and our ideas about the mental approach to golf really meshed. And so I said, "Let's do this." And he said, "Okay." And we had some fun doing it. It was really instructive for me. And I think it was very helpful for him as well. And I can share that with you because it was
Please,
fun.
We got plenty of time.
Glenn was very caring, intelligent, and he was a professor at University Pacific there in Stockton, and had dealt with sports quite a bit. He was a guy who had an idea here, an idea here, an idea over here, but he had not really connected them all together into a theme, he had papers, singular papers, kind of like professors do. Okay, I'm going to do a paper on this, right?
Yeah.
And so I saw one of the things that I was able to bring to it was I'm able to connect all these things plus add some of my own. For example, his motto, "The perfect swing is the one you trust." Mm-hmm. That was mine. And
Really?
Yes, that's been mine for some time. And I said, what if we use that and tie all your teachings together with that as the connector? That is the bridge from one to the other, because all of these things, from the practice little practice ideas that we had to how you approach a tournament, to the pre-shot routine, to the post-shot routine. They were all scattered all over the place. But that's just the way Glenn was. He was like a gold mine, but you had to dig around for the nuggets. And then you had to put them all together in a pile at the end because they were really scattered all over the place. But it just happened that our two skill sets worked out well in this book, and we were able to put something together that I think changed my concept of golf. Along with, I sat for 2 hours, well, more than two, probably 4 hours in a room with Pete Carroll and Bill Walsh and me. And we talked about
both were very close
life.
friends. Yeah, both were very close friends with Glenn. Right?
Yes, Bill was a mentor to the guys, and Bill and Glenn had come together at Stanford for a period of time and at a school over there as well. And so they got to know each other. And then Bill asked, and of course, for some people, some of your younger listeners may not remember Bill Walsh. He was the coach for the 49ers, San Francisco 49ers NFL team, and he won 3 championships and basically won a 4th because a new coach came in with his exact team and won the Super Bowl next year as well. Yeah. Plus, he was as mentoring as any coach ever. So many coaches in the NFL had mentoring under Bill Walsh. And he was one of the kindest people in sports. I've interviewed a zillion people in sports, and he was one of the kindest and most thoughtful, whereas Pete is big-eyed. Pete will sit there like this, and you're going, oh, there's so much energy coming out of this man. I hope he never runs a third world country. It would be kind of scary. But Pete is the kind of guy that, and I played lots of sports, and golf ultimately became the one that I focused last on because you could play it the longest. But Pete's the kind of guy that you would ultimately run through a wall for. He is the emotional side of Bill Walsh. So to listen to them both, I coached basketball, baseball, softball, even soccer. I didn't even know what I was talking about, but the people at the high school knew I was a sucker to come in there and coach. So they said, "Mike, come on." And then they had me coach volleyball at one point. I didn't even know the rules. So I had a team mom sitting next to me, and I'd say, "Is that legal?" But I had fun coaching all those years. And right in the middle of that is when I interviewed these two gentlemen. And I came out of there going, oh my gosh, I wish I would have known this information. First of all, when I was playing competitive golf. And then secondly, while I was coaching, I became, I think, instantly the next day a far better coach than I had been. And it wasn't, Fred, it wasn't like it was rocket science. They weren't telling me about the metamorphosis of the, cerebrum or whatever. It was straight on common sense. There's something both you and I know, we all know, but maybe quite hadn't put it together the way in such a logical, sequential, eliminate all unnecessary things way. And I came out of there going, sports is so more joyful for me now. And golf since then, whereas I struggled before and I would get mad at myself and I wasn't having fun. Now it's fun. Now it's just fun. I have different routes that if I'm playing well, I'm going to have fun that way. If I'm not playing so well, there's still a way to have a lot of fun while you're still focused on the game. I don't mean just go out and drink a lot of beer and hoot and holler and pretend you're having fun. To really, truly have fulfillment. But those two gentlemen and that conversation that I had with them, and then I wrote chapters as if they wrote them and they put their name on it. But it came out of that conversation. So those are in the book too, what Bill Walsh feels about it and what Pete Carroll feels about it. It was just, I was just so lucky to have that kind of access to
Oh,
those
yeah.
men, and they were disarmed, they were relaxed, they weren't trying to prove it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh,
You
absolutely.
felt everything you were getting was genuine.
And I completely understand because I've been doing these interviews for such a long time and I've learned so much from some really amazing teachers. And so I completely get what you're talking about. I've been
Mm.
inspired by and have become a much better golfer, I think, because now someone recently asked me, "Are you a good golfer?" I said, "I'm not a good golfer, but I'm not bad." But I'm not as good as you, my friend. I'm not as good as you. And for also for point of reference, people who aren't familiar with Bill Walsh, but if you follow football in any way, if you ever watch football and you hear them refer to the West Coast offense,
Hmm.
that's Bill Walsh,
Hmm.
right? And also, my younger son was at USC
Oh,
during the Pete Carroll years,
during the Pete
and
Carroll years.
yeah, and three of the 4 years that my son was there, he was living with the starting offensive lineman. So he
Oh,
knew a lot
wow.
of guys in the team and he heard plenty of Pete Carroll stories, which we're not going to get into today because these guys did go through walls for that man and never regretted any moments of
Yeah.
it. We're going to take a time out
Yeah, that's
to
what
hear
he
from
would
our
do.
sponsors. Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to take a pause and we'll be back right after this. I would love to continue your path of working with Glenn, developing this book, Winning the Battle Within. And I love the perfect swing is the one you trust was your line. And we've been giving Glenn credit for that the entire time, but now you both get credit for it. Um, Tell me more about the development of that book and how it was working with this academic about
Mhm.
putting this mental game book together.
Well, he just, the process was he just gave me a bunch of his papers, and they were
Mm-hmm.
scattered all over the place. Like I said, they had no connection with each other.
Yeah.
And I wrote the whole book from start to finish. And a lot of the stories in there are mine. And I will tell you, Fred, that as I get older, I realized that one thing I've done in my career, I've been a terrible self promoter.
Mm-hmm.
And at first, you say that in kind of a humble, bragging way. Oh, I'm from the Midwest. You can't brag about. But then you realize, no, that sucks. That really sucks. For real, you have to be able to say what you did and let people know. And much of that book, Winning the Battle Within, came from me. Doc had certain things that he had for basic stuff, but a lot of it came from me. But I gave it all to him, wrote it in first person, as if he was telling it and writing it, but he wasn't.
Wow.
I did. Um, and he acknowledged that many, many times. He would tell you that right here. But I'm trying at this point to quit being so, allowing myself to be in the shadow all the time and actually take credit for some of the things I've done. And I don't mean to take credit from him, because anybody that knows him knows that he just had a great big heart and a lot of knowledge about this kind of thing. But for me, I you guys grew up in Kansas, as I told you. I grew up on sand greens. And a sand green is not very big. It's about as big as your living room. And when you finished, you took a big metal rake, and each guy would take alternate holes. Like I'd get every fourth hole if I was playing in a foursome, and you'd rake it from the hole out so that it was nice and grooved for the next players. So you
So
always
wait,
had to
wait. So
rake the greens.
the green was it was just sand?
It
Is
was
that
just
what you're
sand, yeah.
saying?
Yes, and then what you would do when
How did the
everybody
ball
got on the
roll?
green, you would take what was called a drag, and it was a piece of wood like this with a handle, and you would drag it so it would be all smooth out to your ball. Then you would set your ball on the smooth part and putt. So you never really had more than a 15-foot putt.
It wasn't really
Um,
soft sand. I got to believe the ball had to be able to roll.
No, it wasn't soft sand. It was always oiled.
Uh-huh.
And in the summertime in Kansas, those iron rakes would get so blasted hot. And so would the sand, because we played barefoot a lot of times. None of us had a whole lot of money. So the first time I played grass greens, I thought I had died and gone to heaven. Like, oh my God, you don't have to rake them. It's not hot. This is ridiculous. And I literally jumped up and down. I was so happy to know that that was available.
Oh my gosh,
But
that's
I was
awesome.
in a real isolated little farm area when I grew up.
I need to ask one more question about these sand greens, though. I'm sorry, because I'd never heard of sand greens before. What would be the comparable speed on a stimp meter on a sand green? Are they slow? Or are they
Very slow, yeah. They're
so
slow.
when you got to grass greens, you must have just been blowing by the hole all the time.
No, I adjusted to them quickly. Putting's always been.
That's your good.
It's-
Your
Yeah, you
superpower,
can just
huh?
feel it. But what you would do in sand greens is everybody would come over to that dragged area, and if the first guy made it, you would put your ball right in the groove. Yeah, his ball made, and he was trying to go down the groove. But if he missed it, you're going, oh man, how am I going to possibly make it? So then you had to get an angle that didn't hit his groove,
Oh,
and so it was a whole different technique to putting, and in actuality, it made you think more, even perhaps than you do now. But so when I got to be a sophomore in high school, I won state championship and thought, oh, we were just playing a lot of sports, and I didn't give one thought to the mental game, the physical game. I just went out and played athletically
okay.
and played really well. I think I shot 69, 70, and won easily. And so I didn't give it a thought. And then I moved to Seattle, and everybody there was talking about the mechanical side of the game. And I thought, well, I'm in a big city now. They must be way cooler than I am. And none of them could play as well as me. I don't know why that never registered in my head, but I just thought they were cool. They had better clothes. They had better clubs. They played on grass greens. And so I started thinking, okay, then we've got to be mechanical about everything, don't we? Well, that screwed me up big time, as you might expect. And I played in college and things, but I would go up and down because I was way too mechanical in my approach. And I'm better off just playing athletically and just playing in the imaginative mind, as we all are, I think. But I didn't know that at that time. I thought the more mechanics I could come up with, the better. And pretty soon I'm going, you can imagine a basketball player. You get to LeBron James, go, okay, LeBron, when you go for a jump shot, where is your left toe pointed? Okay, and think about that till you get 1 foot off the ground. Then where's your elbow point? He'd be the tallest unemployed worker in America, probably, if he thought all that stuff, because you never make a shot. Golf is not unlike that. It is, you have to get to a place where you're thinking in the imaginative mind, which is a blend of mechanics and the physicality, but it's mostly physical. Golf, more than most people realize, is an athletic game. It's very athletic. But everybody on TV, all the announcers, they all want to show, oh, he got it hung up back there. Baloney. Almost every bad shot ever hit is caused by strategy, aim, or trust. And we have this in the book. And the strategy is the key part, and so is the trust. The strategy is, as you stand back behind your ball, you've got to see it in your mind's eye. Where is that ball going? How high is it going? And what's it going to do against the wind? And most of all, where do you want it to land? You've got to look within a foot of where you want that ball to land. And that's in your mind. That becomes part of your imaginative mind. So then you say, and I go through this every time I hit a shot. It's so automatic at this point. In fact, I'd recommend everybody, when you go to practice, forget about practicing the mechanics. Think about practicing your pre-shot routine. And so you see the shot. And then you ask yourself, does this feel right? Because maybe it's between a 5-iron and a 6-iron. You're going to bust a 6-iron, or you're going to try to feather a 5. You got to make a commitment right there. And do you feel it? For me, not playing as much as I used to, I bust everything. It's much easier to swing hard than to try to decelerate through the ball. So you get your strategy, and then you have to say, are you ready for this? Do you commit to this? And my answer when I say yes is I flip the club from my right hand to my left. When it's in the left hand, that means I've committed to this strategy, to this shot. I can see it. I can feel it. Not only see it, but I can feel it. So then you get up over the ball, and that's where aim comes into play. And that's fairly mechanical because a lot of people, right-handers, end up aiming off to the right. That the pros will say we do that. We do that once every 3 weeks. We start aiming off to the right. I don't know why that is, but you do, and you need to make sure you're aligned correctly because you can take the sweetest swing in the world, and if you're aligned wrong, it's not going to go as well as you think. So that's the aim. So you got strategy, aim, and then the final thing is, take a deep breath, get ready, take your swing, and you have to trust it. Do I trust? And I'll tell you about the coolest drill ever for me. And we still use this all the time, my partners and I. And it's about trust. So that's the SAT score: strategy, aim, trust. And you just run through those things. And, where is there time and space to go, okay, I really got to drop my elbow down. I've got to get the lag. Where is my left knee? Are my hips coming through? You can think yourself into oblivion if you want to. And if that's cool, a lot of guys think that's the real male way to do it. And the truth is, the most fun way is to combine that, but mostly be in your imaginative mind. But go through the strategy, aim, trust to start to begin with.
Let's take another time out. I love this so much. I love this conversation so much. We're going to have more when we come back. Michael, you're talking about the SAT, which Glenn talked about. We had him on the show talking about strategy, aim, trust. That's yours too? That's yours too?
Those are his ideas, but
Okay.
I put them together so that it came out SAT. The trust is a big part mine, but sometimes the two of us would sit and talk or play golf, and it would just meld. We would say, yeah, this and that and this. And so to say whose is what's, we hit it off because I think we thought differently in terms of just, I like big picture down. There's one reason I struggled in biology in school. They come up with the details first, and then they try to build something. And I go, no. You got to think big picture. And then how do the details fit under that big picture? It's not, one's not better than the other. It's just the way that I thought. And Glenn thought in pieces rather than the overall thing. So it came together. It's just, this is the first time I've ever taken credit for this, but it is the truth. And it was me to a large degree, but in terms of just taking a lot of what he had and a lot of what I had, and then making it make sense, giving it a form, giving it the perfect swing is the one you try. We start right off with the story of a kid coming up to an instructor, and I made this story up and saying, I want you to teach me the perfect swing. And the instructor says, well, which perfect swing? The one Lee Trevino had, the one Tiger Woods had, the one that Jack Nicklaus had, or the one Ben Hogan had, or the one Arnold Palmer had? Which one of those perfect swings do you want to learn? And the only thing these swings had in common, really, obviously, they all tuck it in at the end. I get that. But they also trusted. They all trusted their swing. And I believe that the 99% of all bad shots, even putts, come because you come out of the top too fast. Putts, you putt too fast, and usually the blade comes open, And you can almost, I mean, I don't know how many times I've seen a player who's not like the king of players, and maybe somebody who's up there for the first time and he's got a 6-foot putt. I said, this one's going right, because they'll come out of the back too fast, look up, open the blade, goes to the right. Some of the better players will miss left because they're doubling over. They know their miss is right, and so they, it's like you're afraid you're going to fade it too much off the downhill line, and a lot of players will pull off the downhill line trying to, and that's, so it's kind of like that. But the trust element to me is the key to golf. It is the key to good golf. Do you trust the swing? And I think you have to build in a pre-shot routine. And yes, you have to trust the mechanics that you've been practicing on the range. But most of all, oh God, Fred, this is so fun. This is, to me, this was the best part of this whole book, and everything maybe one of the best things I learned before I get there was from Pete and Bill Walsh. I'm sitting there, and I'd been coaching for years for basketball and stuff. Well, we mostly had really good teams. But I asked him, I said, is there ever a time when you yell at a player, you say, yeah, you, blah, 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 to motivate? And I got that far in the question, and both of them shouted at me, no, you never yell at a player in derogative terms to motivate them. And I said, I wish that you would tell 99% of high school coaches in America this, because this is a key important thing that I've always thought. I've never thought you yell at a player to motivate them. But the irony is, Fred, the one person I yelled at to motivate them was myself. And I would be hard on myself going through college. I grew up in south side of Kansas City, and the papers sometimes would compare me with Tom Watson. Is this the next Tom Watson? Well, that just about buried me 6 feet under. I didn't know how to handle that. I'm not Tom Watson. I'm just some guy out there not even knowing anything about the game, just playing athletically. And it happened to happen for me. And so I felt I had this burden of, and I didn't have a coach. My dad was a professional athlete, but he didn't really take any part, and we'd go out and play, and he'd get real competitive. And so that was good. But he didn't know any more about the mental game than I did. So it wasn't really until I did this book that I connected all the dots for myself and went, if you don't find joy in this, if you don't find joy in golf, and you hear all the time the guys saying, oh, what's the takeaway? What do you take away? Yeah, he lost. He choked in the playoff. He lost. But what's the positive takeaway that you have from this? Well, I never knew there was a takeaway. I just thought you lost. You loser. What are you doing?
No.
So I was very, very hard on myself. And it wasn't until I had this wonderful conversation with these guys and with Glenn and with others that I went, oh my gosh, this can be fun. And it's been fun ever since. And
recently,
yes.
I was going to say, recently I was playing with a friend, and he shanked the ball and started yelling at himself. And my response was, don't talk to my friend that way.
I like that. It's
be nice to him.
Yep. That's part of the book is self-talk. And I've been pretty darn good about that ever since. And I find that the guys I play with, almost everybody play with yell at themselves. They stop within a round or two of playing with me, not because I ask them to, just because they see that I don't do it. And it's nice because the whole tenor of the game,
the whole energy of the group.
Yes, the energy. That's the way to put it. Is a lot more fun. And we win a ton of team tournaments. I think my partner and I up here, he's probably 7 or 8 handicap or something. But anyway, we play scratch. And I think we win about half the tournaments we play in, largely because we're so supportive of each other.
Mm.
And we know exactly how to get the best out of each other, what to say when. It's almost like, I suspect caddies do that with their
Hmm.
play. Good caddies do that with their good players.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
oh yeah, I can't wait to tell you about some of the drills that, and these were from Doc. Doc told me about these drills. Do
Okay.
we have time now, or should we wait?
No, we're going to do it in the next segment because I'll make a note to talk about the drills in the next segment because you kind of dropped a little nugget in there. Your dad was a professional athlete.
Yes, he played football
Okay.
and was a pretty big guy and fast, really fast, and he was a fullback. And I think he played for the Lions, but then World War II came about, and everybody got drafted.
Yeah.
I often thought Ben Hogan would have been considered by far the best player ever to live, but people forget he was in the military for at least 4 years, maybe 5 years in
Critical
his prime, and did not play. And then he got in that car accident and did not play for a period. So you're looking at 7 or 8 years where he could have won probably easily 12, 13 more majors and surpassed Jack and Tiger. I think there is an argument that he could have been, but if you don't actually do it. But anyway, my dad went into the military and came out, and they weren't paying that much for football players and things like that. So he became a teacher and a coach. And yeah, I haven't lost too many match play but I lost to my dad.
So he got you started playing golf?
Yes. My mom she was one of the top 5 players in Kansas, females.
Oh, wow.
And she could play, and she had the beautiful swing. My dad, because it gets so cold in Kansas in the wintertime, but he'd go downstairs in the basement and he'd put this old mat down and he would hit into a big canvas mat. But there were 2 pipes up above. So he literally had to stand up in the middle of his swing to get the club in between the 2 pipes. And then he would come down. He would have to stand up about 6 inches. So that was his swing when he took it out to the golf course.
Oh, of
he
course.
he would have this cockamamie swing that everybody went, what? And he would still shoot par or under because he could manipulate. He was great around the greens. So when I was 16, or I think we were playing in the club championship, and he and I made it to the finals. And they had cut off, mom and dad had cut off one club for me, an old wooden shafted club. So I played with that all day. I just played with one club. I still remember the first day I hit a drive past my mom. I just, yes! And my mom was so mad. My mom was very competitive. She was mad that I hit it past her. I never let her forget it for the rest of her life. So my dad and I got in the club championship. And the first couple of holes, he missed short putts, and I won. And I looked at him and I said, Dad, if you do that again, I'm going to quit. And so I lost the next 2 holes on purpose because he had lost the first 2 on purpose. I knew he did. And I said, now we're going after it. And he beat me on the last hole. I said, well, I didn't mean it that seriously. But we had a great time.
Oh, that's awesome.
My dad was the reason, Fred, that we were very isolated in this little farm when I was really young. And my brothers and sisters a lot older, so they were at school. I was all by myself all day. And my dad would read to me every night from, great books. And so the characters in those books would become my friends that I played with every day. So I didn't know where love ended and literature began. So my love for literature truly was even greater than my love for golf.
Wow.
And that ultimately won out. Golf was becoming very frustrating. And just the idea of writing and getting involved with all of, literature and bringing me back to those beautiful days when I was younger. So I moved to Northern California, as you know, up by Lake Tahoe. And so I just spent all the time hiking around, trying to relax. It took me like 5 years. I didn't touch a club to try to relax from the stress I had put on myself playing golf. And that's why this book was a real turning point for me as well. And speaking of that turning point, probably the number one drill in there. I'll tell you about another drill first. And this is a wild drill that I
okay, wait.
everybody
I
try.
promise we will do the drills, but let's take one more time out. Then we'll come back. We'll do the drills. You've already answered my question about how you became a writer, why you chose to be a writer, but now we're going to go into the drills right after we hear what's happening on Golf Smarter Mulligans this week.
Okay.
This week on Golf Smarter Mulligans is an episode that originally was a members-only episode, so it's never been made public before this. Kenny Nicholson is our featured guest, and Kenny spent decades in the golf retail or hardware business, working for a retailer called Edwin Watts Golf, which is now part of the worldwide golf shops across the United States. Edwin Watts Golf was the very first sponsor of Golf Smarter back in 2006. And for a number of years, Kenny was on Golf Smarter every week, answering listener questions about equipment and giving away incredible golf prizes. Between 2007 and 2008, Kenny and I were partners on another podcast for Edwin Watts called the Golf Better Podcast, which, once the company was acquired, has now morphed into the Worldwide Golf Shops Insider Podcast, and it still exists, which I'm kind of proud of. Anyway, there was a different podcast from 2019 to 2022 called Golf Better, but that's no longer being updated. Now, the history lesson aside, in his return to Golf Smarter, Kenny and I did an episode called If You Like Your Buddy's Club So Much, Buy It From Them.
If you buy a product that you believe in, then you're going to use that product until something changes, whether it be your swing or the product itself, or you put another product in your hand that is going to be better for you. And here's what I always tell somebody. If you hit your buddy's driver and you hit it incredibly well and you love that driver and you want to get that driver, they would always call us and say, hey, I want to buy this new, I'll just say the R11. I hit my buddy's R11 driver and I loved it. I hit it perfect. I want one. My answer to them is, well, buy your buddy a new one if he wants to sell it, and buy his golf club, because no two are the same.
That's Golf Smarter Mulligans, episode 218, featuring golf hardware sales veteran Kenny Nicholson. Please subscribe for free to both of our golf podcasts, Golf Smarter, published every Tuesday, and our sister podcast that revisits the best of the Golf Smarter archives, called Golf Smarter Mulligans, being released every Friday from wherever you're listening right now. Okay, you're a writer. You've written golf books. You've talked to some incredible instructors. You've coached, but you have drills to share with us.
I have drills to,
but you're still shooting bar these days. I mean, can I ask how old you are, Michael?
Yeah.
Okay, how old are you, Michael?
I'm not telling, but you can ask. So I just played a tournament in Sacramento and shot 666 on a course I hadn't seen before.
Wow.
And
congratulations.
Pretty much clips the field. So I can still do it. And I will say that's far under my age. I would say I shoot.
It's under my age. My God.
Yeah, I can still play. I don't know why. I cannot answer why. I can still hit it almost 300 yards. Wow. They call, they have a name for me at the golf. It's not all that positive because they're mad at me for being able to do that. Come on. So,
what's the name? Come on.
I was going to tell. Wait. I have to tell you. Okay. This is part of my plan to become a better self-promoter. I just came out with a new book last week.
Oh, congratulations. Great.
And it's called Michael Bowker's No Ordinary Days. And it is a collection of my favorite stories that I did for the LA Times and Reader's Digest and the Golf Magazine, lots of other things. And there are some golf stories in there. It's No Ordinary Days. There's also a story in there about how I got involved a little too closely with the Golden State Killer. I did a lot of true crime which is a bit worse than cheating at golf. I will say that. These were, it's a trip. The difference between interviewing Pete Carroll and Bill Walls and interviewing a serial killer. There's a little bit of a divide there.
A little?
But both of them are profound.
Okay.
That word works in both cases, and that's probably the only word I can think of. But anyway, it's Michael Bowker's No Ordinary Days. So now, it's on Amazon. You can get it, and it is full of.
We'll have links in the show notes
stories
for this so
Thanks.
that people can buy that book, since they already own your other book, the one you wrote with Glenn.
The one I wrote with Glenn. And one of the reasons I had to write that one with Glenn, I had just done a book for Simon & Schuster called Fatal Deception. And it was about giant companies poisoning workers on purpose. Not on purpose, but they knew they were doing it for years. This is real. This is a true story. And ended up testifying in front of the U.S. Senate for a week on this. I got death threats for this. We were bucking multi-billion-dollar companies, and it was gnarly. And I watched a lot of people die from what these companies were doing. Wow. And it was tough, really tough. And I swore the next book I write is going to be about golf because I couldn't handle the emotional stress from what I had been doing and hearing people say, we're going to kill your whole family. That's not a lot of fun. I'd much rather hear somebody say, do you think it breaks right or left at the end?
Yeah, exactly.
So I went and took my time writing, helping. Let me get this straight. Working with Glenn and utilizing his brilliance to write Winning the Battle Within. Okay. So two of the drills. The first one is, this is the wildest drill I have ever done in my life. And you have to make sure there's nobody in range where that you might hit doing this. But you get over the ball and you're all set, all ready. You got your target and you shut your eyes and you swing all through to your finish. That is one of the most difficult things to do. But what happened with me is that when I shut my eyes, it seemed like a black background, and where my club went, I could see it. I could see the path of the club like in red, and then it would come through. It was like what TrackMan thing, but you can see it and you can feel it. And if you trust enough, you'll be shocked how many good shots you start hitting, one after another, with your eyes shut. It's stunning, but you have to trust.
Yeah, no, that's really true. And so many people. I played yesterday with some gentlemen, and neither of them broke 100. And they just questioned themselves. They berated themselves after everything, and there was no trust in there at all. I mean, and one of the things that I brought up, I said, they're saying, well, this is the most important thing in golf, and I said, I'd put it right up there with trust. I mean, and we talk about that a lot, is trusting it and trusting the line, trusting your setup, trusting your body to do what it knows how to do, because it succeeded in doing it before. So trust is a huge element.
Well, my favorite drill is one that is the manifestation of trust. It is how trust comes together into the game. And you can use this. We use it in tournaments. The people that I know that have learned this, and I don't know anybody that doesn't I can use this. It is when you swing, you go out to range with your partner. And there's a couple of different drills, but this one's the key one. And let's say your partner is going to hit 3 shots. He takes a swing, and you say, what was that? And all you're asking for is a number. And it's a number between 1 and 10. How much trust did I have in that swing? Wow. How rhythmic was that swing? And 10 is the best. 1 you whiff, I guess. But anything 7 and above, you can shoot par if you putt well. but you get a groove and you begin to learn, okay, that was an 8. And so a lot of times that's all that's ever said. I never say to my partner, wow, that's a good shot. How'd that one feel? I ask him one thing, what was that? And all he's doing is turning to me and going, and you can't go 6.5. It's just, just numbers 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. He'll say, oh, that was a 5. And I don't ever say, oh, what was that one? A 5? No,
No.
The whole part of it is that he must answer. Then I hit balls and I'm going, okay. And what we say when we're in tournaments and stuff, and he's sitting over the ball and I can tell he's uncomfortable over something. And I'll just say, hey, man, swing for a 10. And that's it. And you just shut everything else out of your head. You swing for a 10 and you're thinking, you're feeling the rhythm, and you don't come out of the top fast, and boom, you hit a 10. And you get so excited when you turn to your partner and you go, yes, that was a 10. And putting's the same way, by the way. And
yeah, that's where I want some help. Yeah.
You can hit a 10 putt and miss, but it doesn't happen very often. Obviously, longer putts, you have reading the green becomes the critical aspect of it. But basically, it's for every single shot, chipping, everything else. And many times in tournaments, my partner and I will talk through the whole tournament. What was that? That was an 8. You go, okay. And what we're doing is reminding each other the whole point of swinging a club is trying to swing to a 10. And you're not looking at the shot and go, that was a good shot, so that must have been a 10. That's not it. It's not the result of the shot. It's actually the rhythm and the trust in the swing. You could put a wall down so no one could see where the ball goes, and you can still answer that question. Right. But we do practicing all the time like that. And to me, that's the single most important thing I learned in this whole book in terms of not being an intellectual overview, but actually something you can use as a tool on the course, off the course. And actually, you can use it in life. You just say, hey, man, I'm swinging for a 10. I think you can say, yeah, that was a 10. That's right.
This one is a 10. This is a definite 10. And I've had shots where my playing partners will go, oh, nice shot. And I'm like, yeah, but I didn't like the swing. Yeah, like the result was great, but the swing wasn't that good.
And we would just say, what was that? And you'd go, it's a 7. And we would know all of that. What you just had to explain in 3 sentences, I know by the number you give me.
Oh, you're an editor too. You're a writer and an editor.
He knows too, though, because we've worked that out. We know what a 7 is. We know what a 7 feels like.
Sure.
We know as a 7 might be a groove high, or I had my blade open, but pulled my hand shut just at the last minute, kept it so it went on the right side of the green, but didn't go in the trees on the right. So 7 is where you maybe have to make a small move to make swing work, but a 7 is still really acceptable. And a 7 means you still have a lot of trust because you're still trusting it through there. The other drill that I liked was, again, you're with a partner, or you can do this yourself, and you get the ball, but it's easier with a partner. So I'm set up over the shot. And just before I swing, he'll say, or she'll say, obviously, this is golf is for everyone. They'll say low draw, and I'm standing over it, and I've got to swing, and I've got to hit this low draw, and I don't have even a second by the time he says that or she says that, and I take the club away, and then the next one might be high fade, and they're going to mix it up all the time, maybe 2 low draws in a row, but you've got to be able to connect to that right away and figure out how to hit that shot. And so when you're setting up then in a tournament or just in a regular round, you're going to go, well, I've hit this low draw. What does it feel to me? I'm going to make the call this time. Okay, low draw. We're going to hit this low draw. I know how to do that. I've done that on the practice range. So that then brings out the trust. I go through my pre-shot routine. I make sure I'm set up right. I get set up. I already know what kind of shot I want to hit. I can see it. And now I'm thinking, Then I turn everything off, say swing for a 10. And then you finish. And if you do hit the shot, then we go through a little process where you stand there and you try not to hit anybody that's walking by. But, you kind of go, okay, I want to feel, I want to feel a 10. Boom. Okay, I've just replaced that feel of a bad shot with a 10. Now I can go forward. So that's more or less the process.
Yeah. Yeah. We've had Rick Sessenhaus on the show multiple times. Rick was Colin Morikawa's coach from the time he was 8 years old.
Wow.
And all the way through when he, till I don't think they're working together anymore. But Rick would, when he was working with Colin as a young kid, he would say, put down a ball and he says, all right, what are the 3 different ways or the 4 different ways you can make this shot? Don't just give me the same shot with the same club. So the low fade, the high draw, he would play situational golf with him. He would teach him situational golf, which was obviously very effective. And
it's fun.
And it's
it
fun.
Actually
and I learned
is
a
fun
lot.
For me.
I can't shape my shots, but I have my intention. I know my intention.
Sure you can.
Oh, okay.
2 buckets of balls, you'd be shaping your shots. I guarantee it. What it does is, and talking with Bill Walsh and Pete Carroll, the other thing they said that was really critical for me as a coach and as a golfer, they said, everything is about contingency. You never practice anything that you don't actually use in the game. Remember the old days in basketball?
Oh, right.
They'd line up and they'd throw the ball up against the backboard. Next guy would grab it. He'd throw it up against the backboard. They said, when do you ever do that in the game? You never do that in the game. Why would you practice it? So everything you do in practice has and Pete Carroll says, I hardly ever have to call a timeout at the end of the game because everybody knows what we're going to do because we go over it so many times. We practice exactly what you do. So let's apply that to golf.
Right.
Does it make sense to hit 15 straight 7-irons? Do you ever do that on the golf course?
God, I hope not.
Nope. Yeah, you hope not. That's funny. But by and large, you don't. So you try when you're practicing golf. It's really easy just to get out there. If you're going to do that 10 times in a row, then rather than thinking mechanics, a lot of times it's better to think, okay, how many 10s can I get out of the next 5 shots? And it doesn't matter what club you're hitting. I'm swinging for 10s. And yeah, you can break it down and say, okay, this practice day is going to be about mechanics, but I don't think you're going to get much better. Yeah. I think you will get better if you say, I'm going to swing for 10s.
And golf smarter.
Yeah. And it's more fun. Oh my gosh.
Oh, absolutely. So much fun. No question. Oh, Michael, this has been so great. I really appreciate your time and responding to my request after I heard from your playing partner in Santa Barbara. And really looking forward to sharing the books and reading more from you and reading your new book too, No Ordinary Days. Michael Bowker, thanks so much.
Thank you, Fred. And I look forward to the days when you and I can tee it up. That would be fun.
Well, this episode is being published on the biggest summer holiday here in the United States, but that wouldn't prevent me from delivering new content each week, especially what I found to be a fascinating conversation. And as we were chatting some more after the recording session, Michael said something that could easily have been the title of this episode, but goes way beyond golf. Of course, you can pick it apart and dismiss it if you'd like, but in the context of golf, and many other parts of life, I found this to hold true. He said, the difference between adversity and adventure is attitude. Thanks go out this week to Brian Wise of Philadelphia, PA, for being our newest Golf Smarter ambassador. Like so many of our ambassadors, Brian chose Tony Manzoni's video of the Lost Fundamental as the gift that he receives for leaving a voicemail, which is all that's required to gain designation of you becoming a Golf Smarter ambassador. You know, you too are eligible to win one of 3 great prizes just by sharing with us where you live and where you play. You can select Tony's video, a glove and glove storage compartment from redroostergolf.com, or a box of X1 balls with the Golf Smarter logo from Odin Golf. I'll leave a link in the show notes and today's blog post so that you can learn more about these two fabulous partners. Send me an email and I'll get back to you with some instructions of what to do and what to say, and you too can become a Golf Smarter ambassador and brag to all your buddies that you're on a podcast. Just write to golfsmarterpodcast@gmail.com or visit golfsmarter.com and click on the Hey Fred button.